Hey guys, welcome to the Homestead. So today we're going to talk about the most valuable tool on any homestead. And I've thought about this in great detail and weighed all of the options, and I've come up with one item that I think is the most valuable tool of any homestead. And I think most homesteaders are going to be able to agree with me. But at the end, you should leave a comment below on what you think is the most valuable tool on your homestead. Let me know if I'm off base on this. But before we get started, I want to go ahead and let you know that I will be at Jasper, Arkansas for an event, a speaking event. It's a free event. It's at the Newton County Fairgrounds in Jasper, Arkansas, coming up at the end of April. There's a link on my website. Go to my events tab on my website, and you can go and get the link there and find all the information. Get your tickets. There's tickets that are free, and just sign up for that. And then they ask for a parking donation to help pay for the parking attendants, I guess, who are going to be there working for the event. But that's it. And join me out there for 2 days. It's going to be a great time. Really looking forward to it. So what is the most valuable tool on the homestead? Again, I had some great thoughts on all of the things. I thought about some of the tools that we use often on the homestead, and a lot of things come up, you know. You have chainsaws, you have gardening tools, you have all kinds of things that really you use on a daily, sometimes weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And I just came back to one item that is probably the most used and sought after, and most homesteaders would never throw one away. That would be absolutely ridiculous. What is that item? It is the 5-gallon bucket. The 5-gallon bucket. Why do I think this is the most valuable tool on your homestead? It's because you can use it for almost anything. There are so many things we use this for. We use this for like gut buckets, for when we butcher animals. We use these for, you know, carrying tools around or storing tools. We use it for food prep, for preparedness, storing food in them. Gardening. I every year in my garden, I will take a bucket such as this one right here, this fine example that you see, and then I'll put a little bit of fish fertilizer in the bottom of it, and then I'll fill it with water and stir it all up, and I'll use a cup to go from plant to plant to water my plants. Works great for that. This particular example here is used for my coffee grounds. And every day I have my cup of coffee, and I put my coffee grounds with the little brown, environmentally friendly coffee filter inside there, and I just toss it in, and that's when it fills up. I put it on my garden at the end of the year. I usually empty this twice a year on my garden during the winter time when my ground cloth isn't on my garden. And so the worms really appreciate that. They tell me often, say, Zach, we really appreciate all the coffee grounds you give us in the garden. And the worms, they just love their coffee, just like anyone else who drinks coffee loves their coffee. And of course, where I get my coffee is the Shepherd's Crook Coffee Company that's based out of the Ozarks. It's a family-based business. So check them out. There's a link for that below. I don't get any kickbacks for that, but it's a great company, so I refer to them often. But this is my coffee bucket. And there's so many ways that you can use a coffee bucket. And I thought back to the time when I first learned about the importance of a bucket. And that's what the story I'm going to tell you today. So years ago, I graduated college in Florida. I met my wife there, and we moved back to St. Louis. And at the time, I was on a gun forum online. I had made a lot of good friends on there. And there was a guy by the name of M Trapper. That's the username that he went by. His name was Steve May. And Steve May, I reached out to him after college because I really, really wanted to learn something that most college graduates probably never even thought of learning, something college is definitely not going to teach you. And that was trapping. His name was M Trapper. And so he actually trapped enough where he supplemented his entire income to use that money to pay for some of his bills throughout the year. He was a very accomplished trapper. And he took me under his wing for a trapping season. And when I got back to St. Louis, I trapped with him. He taught me how to do trapping for fur bearers, mostly beavers and raccoons and things like that. And so I learned all that. But one of the first things I learned when I got there was, you know, I'm like, okay, what kind of tools do I need? What kind of traps do I need? You know, all this stuff. Before all of that, Steve told me, he says, what you need is a 5-gallon bucket. First thing you need is a 5-gallon bucket, because when you go on your trap line from trap to trap, you're going to carry your trapping tools and all your gear and all the things you're going to need inside of a 5-gallon bucket, and that's going to make your job a lot easier. So the first thing you need is a 5-gallon bucket. So when I think back to Steve May, M Trapper, I think of the importance he taught me of the 5-gallon bucket, because he was sure right. It was a lot easier to have all of that stuff, and it made it very simple. Steve passed away from cancer in 2022, I think maybe. And, you know, he was a good guy, and he was gracious enough to teach me some of the things that he knew, and I'll always be grateful for that. But the one thing he taught me was, first off, the importance and value of a 5-gallon bucket. So I really get a lot of use out of these things, and there's just so many uses for them. And I think back to some of these tools that I really value on the homestead. You know, having a good tractor is something. When we first moved on the homestead, we got a tractor. It was an old 1970-ish Massey Ferguson, and we got it for a good price, and we used that until, you know, it just came time to upgrade, and we finally got a more expensive tractor. But, you know, that's a very valuable tool that we use for our animals quite a bit here on the homestead. Chainsaws are another one. Having a good chainsaw that you can use for so many things, you know, on the homestead when it comes to, you know, managing and working your land. So that's a very valuable tool. And, you know, gardening tools, all kinds of things that we use. But again, it just goes back to what I think is the most valuable, and that's a 5-gallon bucket. Even when we've tapped trees here, we did maple syrup one year with a number of, we don't have a lot of sugar maples here, but we have a lot of red and silver maples. And so we tapped that, and we used 5-gallon buckets for that. There's just, the amount of things you use it for is endless. And so, you know, I often get asked, you know, what are some of the things you can have as a homesteader when I go, or what are things that are important? 5-gallon buckets are at the top of my list because there are just an infinite amount of ways you can use them. But I'm interested to hear what you think. What do you think about the 5-gallon bucket? What's the most valuable tool that you would suggest would be on your homestead? If it's not the 5-gallon bucket, what is it? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Hey, I hope to see you guys all out at the Jasper, Arkansas. It's the Newton County Fairgrounds. Hope you guys see me out there. I'm really looking forward to that event. I got a number of other events coming up this summer. I hope you can join me out at some of those. We're going to have some great homesteading topics and some things we're going to discuss with some of these events. I'm going to be in Illinois. I'm going to be in Missouri. So check out those events. If you're in that area, you can come out and see me, and I'd love it. I love coming out and hanging and talk with other homesteaders, because usually when I go to these places, I learn a lot of valuable things as well that other homesteaders have discovered, and I can take some of those things and implement them back on my homestead. So I hope you guys are getting ready for spring. Hope you guys are getting your gardens planted. The trees are now just starting to take on some leaves. There's all kinds of buds on the leaves. And so I'll be sharing some more gardening stuff and some other things with you guys coming up in the near future. So subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video before you go. And I'll see you next time on An American Homestead.
Have you ever gone to a health food store and seen all those small bottles of probiotics in your cooler section? Man, can they be pricey. Are you really getting all you need to improve your gut health from those expensive bottles? How viable are they? Most of those products claim to give you between 8 and 15 strains of gut-healthy healing bacteria. Think of each strain of bacteria as a different factory in your gut. Each factory is responsible for breaking down that food in its own way. The more factories you have, the more the food is broken down and the easier the food is absorbed and digested by the body. A 2018 study published by the National Library of Medicine shows that one fermented head of cabbage can produce up to 114 strains of beneficial bacteria. That's a lot more food factories than you're getting from that expensive pill bottle. And that's just cabbage. Imagine the probiotics when you add garlic, onions, pepper, and more to that ferment. PerfectPickler.com and its home fermentation kits provide you with everything you need to get started making your own gut-healthy food factories from the comfort of your own kitchen. PerfectPickler.com even provides a jam-packed recipe book with many of our kits. Visit PerfectPickler.com and start fermenting your own veggies to begin your journey to better gut health. That's PerfectPickler.com.
Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of An American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.